Good morning, all my wanderers and friends. Welcome back. Hello. I hope that you're all doing well. I'm hoping that for those of you that are in the extreme heat, that you're safe and in a place where you have air conditioning. A fan just is not enough in this extreme heat. A fan really does not cool the air down. It just moves the air around. And you are actually prone to heat stroke whether you have a fan on or not, if you didn't know that, because it's the room temperature, the air temperature, that is going to give you the heat stroke. So you're getting an illusion from the fan that you feel cool, but the room temperature is not. Just a little tidbit of information this morning. I'm on my second cup of coffee. Can you tell? Well, today's video, I'm going to try to make it a little short. I know sometimes I ramble on a bit, and I don't mean to. I was thinking about this, and with a lot of talk going on right now about the possibility of more shutdowns coming. I don't know if they are or aren't, but there is a lot of talk about it due to basically I think a lot has to do with well, some are saying a climate shutdown will be happening. By that, I'm hoping what they mean is that areas where the climate is blending itself to less growing, less water, and that type of situations. The threat of a possibility of a war coming after the airstrikes over the weekend. Another question is this new Delta virus variant, whether they being the government, will order some shutdowns again. So that takes me to, if you don't know me already, you know I'm a big one on being prepared. Not that I think you can be prepared for everything, but some things you can be prepared for. So my question is, are we prepared for another shutdown possibly? Do you have enough food that could last you even a week? Most families don't. That's why I keep pushing for people to try the best you can to put a few things aside, so that when things like this come along, you don't get all worried and scared. Being prepared can help you with your anxiety of what will I do, how will I eat. So anyways, today I thought I might list you a couple, well, more than a couple, of some items that you might want to consider having a little extra of in the house in case of things like that happening. One thing that comes to mind is milk. I mean, even in storms, we always hear about people rushing to the grocery store to get their milk. There is a shelf-stable milk. I personally have used it, and I don't see a difference in the taste. I really don't. You can purchase it in a 32-ounce package, put it on the shelf. The date on it is usually pretty far out there. Or another thing you could do is keep a little extra evaporated milk in the house. You can mix that with water. You can make your quart of milk or half gallon of milk out of that. A little bit more costlier, but really not that much. But at least if you couldn't get out to get milk, you have a way. So that would be one things I would suggest. Peanut butter is another thing. Peanut butter is always good to have, whether you have children in the house that love peanut butter and jelly or not, or it's just yourself. A lot of people take celery stalks and put peanut butter in that. It's really, and it's a good nutrient, it's a good protein value. Another thing, tuna fish. Now I know some people don't care for tuna fish, but besides tuna, you could have canned chicken in the house. I've had it. No, it doesn't taste like good old-fashioned roasted chicken. That it doesn't. But in a pinch, you can do a lot with it. Same with the tuna. You can make a casserole out of that. You could make tuna sandwiches, tuna melts. Chicken, you could throw that in a soup, like say cream of chicken soup over the top of that, and then that over top of noodles. There's many ways to have that. So if you had a couple of cans of that on hand, you're assured at least of a few meals. Eggs, now that's a hard thing to store, but you could actually keep a dozen or so ahead. Try to buy the farthest outdated, of course. I have used eggs beyond the expiration date, and I've never had a problem with them. That's just been my experience. Canned meats are something that's a good thing to have on hand. Like I said, tuna, chicken. There's actually cans of pulled pork, cans of roast beef, sardines. There's cans of clams. I think it's a Bumblebee that makes some of that. You could use the clams in a chowder if you have a can of chowder of some sort, soup on hand. Stews, beef stews, Dinty-Moore stew, sauces for spaghetti or for pizza. Soups, either something you've made and maybe you've frozen it, or canned soups. Cream of chicken, for instance, you could put with your can of chicken. And put that over noodles, something like that, if you wanted to make a meal out of that. You won't go hungry if you have some of these things on hand. Another item that I do mention, not my favorite myself, to be honest with you, but is top ramen. And the reason I say it's not my favorite is because there's nothing nutritious in it. However, if you take that top ramen that kind of makes you feel like you're full and added some chicken to it or some sort of a meat to it, and maybe a few vegetables, you can make a good meal out of that, and an inexpensive meal. For those of you who are on a tight budget, that's the way I want to say it. These are things like that you just have to get a little more creative with, and you can keep within your budget. Another great meal and inexpensive is chili. Whether you make your own or you have canned chili, you can pick up a package of cornbread mix. I mean, I think it's Jiffy that makes one, a honey kind of cornbread. Chili and cornbread is a good, quick evening meal. Vegetables. Now, I know we've discussed this a little bit before, I think. A lot of people don't want to use canned vegetables, don't like them. I myself don't care for them that much myself. But in a pinch, if you have nothing else in the house, it's better than having nothing to eat. And as far as the salt content goes, with canned vegetables, you can help with that by either buying the no salt added, or you can get the regular canned vegetables, like let's say a can of green beans, and throw it in the colander and wash it down well. You'll get probably up to 50% of the salt out of there. And that's something that you could add into a soup, maybe as a vegetable, where the flavor of it might be a little better. You always have the option to get fresh vegetables ahead, roast them up, and freeze them. Depends on how much freezer room you have. I mean, if you have just a refrigerator freezer that's not that big, how much can you put in there is another question. But some people have not only that, but a freezer in their home as well. Beans. I was noticing this further down on my list, and I'm laughing about that because I'm not a bean eater. But I know many people are, and I also know that it's a good thing to eat for you nutrition-wise. And beans, whether you're getting the bagged beans that you have to soak and everything before you cook them, I guess, because I've never done that, or canned beans. Having that on hand is always going to be a meal that you can have. Rice is another thing, and I just want to remind you, white rice will keep longer than brown rice. So keep that in mind when you're buying your rice. Fruit, another hard one along with the vegetables. It's hard to buy a canned fruit that isn't overly sweetened, and those of us who are trying to watch our sugar consumption, either because of a medical issue or a diet requirement, that's a little bit difficult. You could, hopefully, we'll be able to afford fruit this summer. You could buy some, excuse me a moment. Come here, please. Here, come on. These rascals, I don't know. I'm telling you, it only seems to be when I'm talking to all of you. What do you do to my animals? Okay, back to the fruits. Again, it depends how much you have for freezer room. One easy way that I know of to do it is, let's just take blueberries or strawberries or any of the berry type things. If you lay them out on a cookie sheet, let's say, individually, stick it in your freezer and let them freeze solid on that. Then take that out and take your freezer bags and pop them in there individually. You'll have a little bit more room to put those in your freezer. Another thing, flour. Because you may be in a situation where, okay, I don't have any bread. Here we're back to the run out and get milk and bread kind of thing. You could make pancakes with that. You could make your own bread. Those of you that have a bread maker certainly could make your own bread. Sugar, spices. You need that if you're going to do any baking. Baking soda, powder, yeast, which if you remember, those of you that do, last year you couldn't find yeast anywhere because with the lockdown, people were baking more, and there was no yeast that you could find anywhere in the store. Another thing is water, a very important thing. If for some reason your water shut down or whatever, whether it was an electrical storm that hit your pump, or if you're on city water, that might be a little bit better for you, but sometimes that goes without also. So always keep many gallons of water on hand. Those you can store easily in a way, except that it takes up a lot of room, but you don't have to worry about it really going bad. Coffee prices, if you haven't noticed, are on the rise. So I would definitely have some coffee put aside because I don't see coffee prices coming back down in the near future. You're going to see, I believe, a little lowering of prices for a short period of time, and then it's going to go right back up. But you're not ever going to see the prices come back down to what they were before this pandemic. So buying it at the least that you can on sales and so forth is like putting money in the bank in a way. And let's see, oh yes, and again, I'm sure you all know this, the sweet tooth in me says, you need to have a few extra treats on hand. You don't want to constantly, if you're stuck in the house for a week, a month, or whatever, you don't want to have to constantly eat the same thing day after day. And a little treat here or there can kind of brighten your day at those times. And let's not forget our pets. That's a little bit hard too. We've talked about that at times, because your kibble food it's not real stable as far as lasting any length of time. So to stock up on it is a little tricky because you have a lot of fats in that can go rancid. So you're gonna kind of have to dance around that one a little bit, I guess we'll say. And I think that's about all that I have on my list. I mean, there's many other things, and I've only delved into the food side. I haven't talked about other things that you definitely could use in a lockdown. Medical supplies. Make sure your prescriptions are filled. Make sure you have Band-Aids in the house. Antibiotic creams. All kinds of things like that. Hydrogen peroxide comes to mind. That type of thing. So that's my list that I encourage you. And I know it's difficult, especially for those on a tight budget. I understand that only too well. But at times, even if you took $10 a month even, and bought a couple of things and put them aside, don't use them, put them aside. Only buy what you're going to eat. That's what a lot of people make a mistake of. Oh, they see a sale and I'll buy it, but they never eat it. So only buy the things that you're going to eat. That's an important thing to keep in your mind. But you would be surprised how quickly it adds up over a period of time. So if you haven't started doing this, it's not too late to do it. And now for kind of a fun part of this video, or I thought it would be kind of fun to do, I wanted to show you a few different items that maybe you're unaware of, that you don't know about. That are kind of good to have in the house. I'm not saying they're inexpensive always. Some are not. But it's interesting to see the kind of things that are available that you can do. Okay, let me get a little sip of my coffee again. One thing that comes to my mind that I brought out, and I think I showed this to you people before, but didn't really open the box before. These are organic red beets. This is the way they come. They come in a package. They're whole, peeled, cooked, ready to eat. The expiration date on these are August. I better get using them up. I've had these for a while. But you can just store them on your shelf in this box. Pull the bag out. Once you open the bag, then you need to put it in the refrigerator. I use these when I do my juicing for my ABC juice. I use them with my meals. In fact, I gave a package of these to a friend of mine who dearly loves beets. And she and her husband had beets for dinner a couple nights in a row. So there's enough beets in here for 2 people for a couple meals. These are kind of a fun thing to have around if you're like beets and don't want the bother of peeling them and washing them and so forth. And as far as where can you get those, only place I've actually looked for them is Costco, because that's where I initially got them. Another thing I have mentioned in the past is, and it's a good thing to have on hand too, is salt if you're going to do any baking. This is Himalayan salt, pink salt. And you can, while it is expensive to find in some of the grocery stores, if you go to, I want to say Dollar Tree, you can buy these for like $1 a bag. And how much is in here? This is a 1 pound bag. You can't buy this for $1 a pound anywhere. You use it just the same as your regular salt. It's got a lot of different nutrients in it that your regular salt doesn't have. I use this all the time now. It is non-GMO verified. It's vegan certified. It's kosher. So that's an interesting item. Then not that this isn't something you could buy anywhere you can, but I know that there have been times when people say to me, gee, I've never heard of that. So I thought, this might be one to mention to you. This happens to be maple syrup. Now this is, the company that does this is Crown Maple Syrup. It's maple syrup that is steeped in bourbon barrels, where they've had their bourbon in the barrels before packaging up and everything. And those leftover barrels, they steep the maple syrup in there. Has a little bit different flavor. I enjoy it. Sometimes I'll put just a tiny little bit in a cup of tea, and it's really, really quite good. You can get this on Amazon. I'm not sure where else. There's several size bottles, and there's several different kinds. Like this is the amber color, which gives you what they call a richer taste. But in case anybody's interested, this is something you might want to try. Okay, back to making our casseroles, macaroni and cheese, and things like that. Okay, so you ran out of cheese today. This is Rico's Gourmet Nacho Cheddar Cheese Sauce. You can add this right into your macaroni and cheese. And again, it's sitting on the shelf. You don't have to have it refrigerated. Let's see, I've had this for a little bit. Okay. It was produced in 2020, and it's got a 2-year lifespan on it. I'm not sure, unless you're freezing cheese, how long you would be able to keep open cheese in the refrigerator. But that's another item that I thought was kind of a fun thing. And then for you seniors that maybe like, well, for anybody really, I'm trying to address 2 groups of people here, because I know there's a lot of seniors that are struggling and trying to eat well and trying to stay within a budget. So I'm trying to reach many of you. This is a dock, fully cooked, water added ham. These were running, oh gosh, I wish I could remember now. I don't know, somewhere in the little over $2, I'm pretty sure it was under $3 range. And it is actually a pound of ham. No, it's not like getting ham and baking it in the oven, honestly. But it is already fully cooked, so you could slice it, make a ham sandwich, chop it up, put it in your eggs. There's many things that you could do with this. You can serve it hot, just heat it in the oven for a little bit. This is not a bad thing to have 1 or 2 on the shelf. You got your meat. And then I know we've talked about tuna. Has anybody tried the yellowfin tuna? I think this is Genova is the brand. yellowfin tuna. I had been hearing so much about this a while back, and I decided to purchase some. Obviously a little more expensive than your regular bumblebee albacore. This is so tasty. I don't know what there is about it that it tastes so much better. But if you have an inkling, you could give that a try and keep some on the shelf. I mentioned to you canned meats. Okay, this is from Walmart, and I'm sure you can get it other places. This is a can of pulled pork. And I've had this, this is another thing that you could put over rice, or trying to think how else I've done it. I usually do it over rice, honestly, but it's quite a bit of meat in here. And again, you'll have meat when you can't buy meat. This was something I never knew about until maybe last year sometime. You can buy roast beef, canned roast beef. So with what's going on with the beef market these days, wouldn't hurt to have a few of these, because I don't know what we're going to do for beef, in case you haven't heard. Because of the drought out west, the ranchers are actually, I hate to term it this way, but I can't think of another way, are killing off all their beef. Some of the auction houses are saying they usually see maybe 400 head come in the fall time, where now they're already coming in, and they're coming in at twice that amount. It's because of the drought. They have no way to feed them, they have no way to water them, which is sad. But it also affects us, and it affects us in the future, because that means there's no breeding stock, so there won't be any calves being born at the usual time. And this could go on for over a year by the time they can get back to restocking their herd, if they survive, if the ranchers survive. So I always keep a few of this on. This is roast beef. It's Kirkland brand, which is Costco. I have never bought a Kirkland brand item that I have been disappointed in. So I prefer to buy this if I can. This is in a beef broth, and it's a product of the USA. It's fully cooked, and so I guess basically, if you want to say this, you could open this can and eat it like it is if you want to eat it cold, or had to eat it cold. But there is also Armour roast beef in gravy. Again, let me see here to make sure on this one, because I haven't opened this one yet. Fully cooked and ready to eat. So those are a couple items that, if you didn't know are available. Maybe a little bit pricier, but the most important thing of all, excuse me, dehydrated foods. Not something I have ever gotten into, but I did see someone who was using this particular item, and it piqued my interest, so I did buy this. Obviously, it's sitting on my table. This is dehydrated cross-cut celery. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, I waste more money buying fresh celery, because I don't get to use it all up by the time it's going bad. So I thought, gee, maybe this would be a way that I could have celery at any time I needed it, and not have to worry about it going bad, or in the refrigerator or whatever. So this is bought as a dehydrated celery. You add water to, of course, rehydrate it. If it's unopened, it can last for 25 years. After you open, it lasts about a year. But again, you don't have to refrigerate it. You put the cover back on, put it on the shelf. I've tried it. I made, what did I make with this? I think it was chicken salad, where I like to have celery in it. Now, my review of it would be this, if somebody was asking me to review it. Yes, it smells like celery, it tastes like celery. It does not have that crunchy value that you get from a stick of celery. It's kind of almost more like a shredded, I don't know how to describe it, grassy kind of thing that you're tasting when you're eating. And I think it would take a little getting used to, and it might depend on what you're using it in. I think if you needed celery for a soup you were making, this would be a great idea, because you wouldn't have that same texture with it. Let me see, I've got this, as you can see. Let me see if I can give you an idea what it looks like inside. As you can see, it's kind of a grassy, kind of, I'm making it sound terrible, worse than it is, honestly, it's not bad. But that's another item, and this is Augustin Farms. I know there is another company that makes well, I think there's probably several, but Augustin, and the other one is Mountain something, and they're kind of the top in their division. Augustin Farms, I don't know so much about the other one, but they make all kinds of dehydrated things. Now, not all of them are probably going to be as good as others, but they do a tomato powder, they do carrots. If you go to their site, I think it's augustinfarms.com, you'll see the products that they use. I was taking this because I actually knew somebody that was using this, so I thought, okay, I don't want to buy something that is just not going to be tasty at all. And so if anybody's interested, I'll keep up on that and let you know which ones seem to be coming with a high rating. So I guess I have to say that we're going to close this video now. I've run a little longer than I meant to. I'm so glad you were here. I do appreciate you all coming to watch the videos, I really do. And I hope you'll come back again soon. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Until the next video, I'll see you then. Bye-bye.